Gotham Season 4, Episode 2, The Fear Reaper. Definitely an interesting episode. In particular, of course, the fact that Barbara is somehow alive is really insane, but I'll save that because that was probably my favorite part just because it was like, where the F did this come from? And then there's the whole mystery of who in the world is she actually working with that bought the gun. So I'll save that for last because there's like just a bunch of speculation, and that's like a new plot point compared to this episode kind of wrapping up, at least somewhat, the season premiere. But it was definitely a good episode. We of course have more of Bruce doing his training and things like that, and Lucius being super awesome, where it's like, seems like, he sees he's in a bit of a scuffle, and it's like, I see that there's like stone and concrete on you, so it was like, what were you doing before you were looking for Selina? And they're like, I was rock climbing and stuff, and it was just really cool, because I'll always like Lucius, and it's just really funny. Like, he's, by the end of the episode, he comes in with the suit, with the jacket and everything, and he's just helping him out. And that's kind of his role for people who aren't super familiar with Batman. Maybe, I don't know, if maybe you didn't see, like, the Dark Knight trilogy or whatever, but Lucius Fox is always playing that role. He's always the one who's, like, that other person that knows Bruce Wayne's secret, and he's, like, the tech guy. Like, Alfred, of course, is, like, always there 24/7 to basically be, like, that family member. But he always has Lucius whenever he needs some random new piece of technology. It was just like in the Dark Knight movies. That's always really been his role. Is that he would kind of come in and be like, alright, well, this thing is happening, that thing is happening. He was kind of like the preemptive technology guy. Like, if Bruce doesn't make it himself, Lucius did it. So I thought that was pretty cool that they decided to sort of introduce that super early on. And he's, as smart as he is, he's just like, okay, clearly something's going on here. So he decides to help him out at the end. He gives him the jacket. Has like the metal on the end of the glove, so when Bruce makes like that really big leap and he doesn't exactly land, we can hear like the scraping on the fingertips, and it's supposed to help him have like really great grip. And I think there's some grip on the shoes as well, but I thought that was cool. I was like, that's a cool little thing. He talks about how it can take impacts and stuff like that, and he gives them the headsets and stuff, and it's like in case you want to communicate while climbing and stuff. So I thought that was actually really cool. Before that, he's walking around. He looked like he was walking around in Assassin's Creed or something for people who play games like I do. Like, that's all I could think, because he had like this really wide hood. And I was like, all that makes me think of is Assassin's Creed. But he goes through his mission of finding the criminals from the last episode. Of course, things worked out fine with him falling through the roof. It was like, oh, this is a huge misunderstanding. I was looking for Selina. I just happened to fall into this criminal activity, which of course the cops were there like instantly, which explains that, they tripped a wire or whatever. So he gets out of that whole situation, he tracks them down, and Alfred seemingly lets him go on his own. He's like, it's clear that you're not ready for this. Sure, you can take a hit, you're, a bit of a natural, but what if they have weapons? What if they have, in particular, guns? And Bruce is kind of the cocky kid at this point. He's obviously not at, like, Batman levels, of course. So he's super confident in himself, and he does a fairly decent job. He does, of course, get tricked instantly, where they're like, he didn't even know he was being played, and they're just like, alright, well, we caught, our little stalker. I like the fact that they touched on the, how popular he is, where it's like, he's famous, but he's not like super, super famous. Like, I think he's, of course, he's more famous once he is like adult Bruce Wayne, where he actually takes control of the company. But for now, it's like, oh, that's the kid Bruce Wayne whose parents were killed off and stuff. And it's just like, that one guy in the gang was like, I swear I've seen this guy's face before. Like, I know I've seen him. And I just thought that was a cool little touch, where it's like, not everyone knows him. And that's always one of the things in the Batman stories, where I'm always like, how famous is Bruce Wayne? Because they do it, differently in different movies and TV shows, where it's like, does everyone know who Bruce Wayne is? Or is that like, maybe just in the States? Maybe only in like the surrounding areas of Wayne Enterprises? How famous does the name, Bruce Wayne really stretch out? And of course, with him being a kid in this, it hardly even stretches throughout all of Gotham at this point. So I like that they actually touched on that idea of people kind of knowing who he is, and it's like, that could come back in the future. I don't know if that's going to happen, and that's why they kind of introduced that idea, because all he did was, beat them up a little bit. I think the person that recognized him a little bit was the one who actually ended up being shot, but I don't think they were like fatally wounded or anything. But, counters the dude with the gun, torches, well, he doesn't actually set anyone on fire, but he keeps him away. Hops out the window because everyone's so distracted, he had enough time to like throw the rope around and everything and hop out the window. But I thought it was pretty cool. I like that, that whole little section where he was tracking them down, and he ultimately does end up making his escape. Like I said, I don't know if they had that guy like kind of recognize him, because they're going to bring that back in a future story, but I wouldn't be surprised. I was like, nothing really happened. It's not like he mistakenly blew up the whole building or anything and all those guys died. And like, I feel like that could easily come back in the future. Like, it's Bruce Wayne. He's especially with him being on TV and the whole Penguin thing where he's constantly interacting with Penguin right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that ended up coming back, somewhere later in this season. But ends up escaping. Of course, he gets captured by the guy who I guess was moving at like super speed because Bruce jumped out a window in 2 seconds, and then he runs like right down the street, and the dude just pushes him down. I was like, how did he get out of that building so incredibly fast? But of course, it's just to add a little bit of tension and to show that he's not ready to, he's not at Batman levels naturally. And Alfred comes in, knocks the dude out, and is like, see, I told you. And then they take off, and that's pretty much it. So, fairly simple story. He tracks down the people that escaped him by the end of the last episode, and then at the end of this one, he gets the new outfit. And I don't know if I like it that much. I liked it better when he had like the long jacket and the big hood. I don't know if I'm not a huge fan of the jacket that he has now. It's just like, I don't know, something about it. I just don't think it looks super cool. But they of course do add the like prototype version of the Batman cowl. Like, it's not even sort of like, oh, that's kind of got the angle. It's like, that is the actual Batman cowl on his face, just not covering like his entire chin and everything. It doesn't go all the way around his head. It's just like the front facing mask. And I was like, they were just like, Batman mask, that was it. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's, somewhat similar, but not really. When I saw it, I was like, that looks exactly like the one from the Dark Knight movies. And I was like, that's just interesting. Look, it actually made me think of, when I saw it, because it didn't like cover the bottom of his face, it made me think of the meme that's out there with Christian Bale, where it's like he has like tan lines, like if, this is why Batman works at night, because he would have tan lines all over his face. And that's what it made me think of as soon as I saw it, because it was like showing his actual mouth at the bottom. But I was like, okay, they made it just flat out, it's a Batman cowl. It's the super prototype version. It's just like a front-facing mask instead of like a full helmet or anything. But he's got the jacket, he's got the full outfit. Like I said, personally speaking, I just thought it looked cool with the long black cloak and the the big hoodie. I like Assassin's Creed, so it made me think of that, and I thought it was cool. But I'm still excited to see how they take this, and him having that sort of flexibility with this new outfit and being able to take all these leaps. And he talks about it like, it's like he's not wearing anything at all, so he can take extra leaps, and he can of course survive these extra leaps because of like the grips on the gloves and things like that. So definitely looking forward to what they're doing. But that was a simple story. It was like, all right, this is what happened at the end of the last episode. Found the people, kind of solved the problem. He punched and shot a little bit, and then ultimately it's not like they got arrested, so they're still just out there, but he did end up finding him. So I'm looking forward to how that's going to play out. I don't know if they're going to bring this game back, and that'll be like sort of his big challenge for the season, where they keep coming back as an issue for him. But I think that would actually be kind of cool if that was almost like he had a whole little insignificant gang that was like his true first test, and he just had to keep dealing with them until eventually he officially takes them completely down. I think that would actually be really cool. I just don't know if they're going to end up doing that. But the other story, of course, in this episode deals with Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow, him going back to Arkham Asylum, him going and attacking the Warden and spraying him and spraying everybody. Everybody's going nuts. They have a really great scene in this with the Warden that may or may not have been inspired by Arkham Knight, because it was like almost the exact same scene where in that game, this is literally the opening to the Arkham Knight game. A cop goes into a bar, and then he gets sprayed by the fear toxin, and so the whole scene is like the dude on fear toxin. Like, you play this character as the cop who's on fear toxin, and everyone looks like demons. But of course, when you start shooting, like, of course you're just killing a bunch of people. And that's what I was thinking of when he was running down the hallway. He was seeing like all these crazy, creepy clowns, which perfectly timed with it having come out like, it was only like 2 weeks ago. It's probably been more than that, but it was like they kind of got that creepy clown thing in as early as they possibly could, I guess. But he goes down this hallway, and as soon as he started shooting, I was like, he's just shooting, orderlies and stuff like that. And of course they show it from a normal perspective, and it's just a bunch of dead employees on the ground, and he's just running out. And I was like, that was actually a cool scene. And like I said, it took me back to the Arkham Knight game, like that opening, just someone on fear toxin, and just that instant switch, because no matter how much control you have over your emotions, it's, the fear toxin sends you into overdrive no matter what. So I thought that was a great moment. Of course, Jim still being like enemy number one of his entire police station. He's like, hey, there's a crazy issue at Arkham Asylum. Let's go deal with this. Nobody wants to go with him. And then even Bullock says, and I thought this was a really great line. He was like, I told you one day you'll say now or never, and I'll say never, and today is that day. And it was because he knew he needed the GCPD behind him. Like, they may not be 100% there, but he knew that if he went with Jim, that would have been it. It would have been like, there's no way that he can kind of come back to the GCPD as their leader. And I thought that was a very interesting idea. And so, of course, Jim ends up going alone. And he does what he does. He survives, and he looks like he's about to shoot a bunch of innocent people, but he never does. Like, I feel like they do that a lot in this show. Him going in, he always ends up taking a shotgun, but he never really uses it. Like, he went in with the shotgun, and I was like, he's not going to shoot all these innocent people, right? Like, they're on fear toxin and, you know, attacking him, but still, Jim Gordon. And every time, I don't know why, but it's been the whole series, every time I see him do that, I always think, is he going to shoot these people? And he never does, because he's Jim Gordon. He's not going to shoot the innocent people. Every once in a while, there might be some collateral damage. But I was like, of course, he didn't end up shooting anybody with the shotgun. I think he tried to shoot it as like a warning shot, although he was aiming kind of like straight down the hallway. But for whatever reason, it didn't go off, so he drops it and he pulls out his handgun, and he kind of just shoots like at the framing for the door, and that freaks everybody out. So he goes through, of course he gets hit with the fear toxin. We actually see Lee, which I thought was really cool. It was a lot like what they did with the Riddler in the last episode, although this was much longer with, I can't think of her actual name. I want to say it's Morena Baccarin, I believe is her actual name. So we got to see her for much longer than we got to see the actor who plays the Riddler in the last episode. That was like a couple seconds, but that was like a whole sequence with Jim freaking out, and he sees her in this pool where or in the tub, and a pool of her own blood, and she had like slit her wrist, and Scarecrow tries to convince him, is like, you know, don't leave her alone, like die with her, and, you know, make a deep cut. And I thought that was actually a pretty cool little moment where he's like, he has to break through the fear toxin, and I just like that moment. Of course he breaks through because he's the main character, so he has to. So he breaks through that, and then Scarecrow freaks out. Is like, you know, you're not supposed to be able to defeat your demons. You're supposed to merge with them. And I thought that was a cool concept. They don't touch too much on it because it went back into like them fighting again. But I thought that was a cool concept where it was like, you're not supposed to be able to defeat the toxin. You're supposed to understand your fear and then kind of merge with it. And I thought that was a really cool concept of him still being so insane because of all that time he was, you know, on the fear toxin without any sort of help. And eventually he, in a way, he did conquer it, but it's, you know, obviously not in the same way that Jim did. So I just thought that was actually a really cool concept where he's like, you're not supposed to defeat it this way. You're supposed to defeat it by becoming a part of it and letting that fear kind of, you know, channel this new version of you. So I thought that was just a cool concept that was like in a couple of sentences, and I was like, that just seems like a cool concept. That sort of dynamic, the way they explained it, I thought was pretty sweet. But Jim goes through, fights, you know, a couple of people that are, well, I guess everybody that's still taking over. He ends up spraying some people with some water, which was like, this is one of the things, like, normally with this show is like, okay, they all use flip phones. It's like, maybe this is set in like the 90s or something like that. But it was super funny to me when he pulled out, he grabbed like the fire extinguisher and it shot water at people. I was like, this is not 1912. Like, it's not, I mean, it shot out like a giant burst of water. It wasn't like old school actual fire extinguishers where it shoots like a tiny little stream. But it was super funny. I was like, why is this water? It made no sense. But I guess Arkham is supposed to be super old, so you can say it still makes sense. But I just thought that was so funny. I was like, why in the world is this thing shooting water out? And they have like actual fire extinguishers. But he of course finds out that water cures everybody, so he punches a couple people. He ends up not using this the razor blade that he had. Like, he swung on one person and they kind of dodged, and I was like, it was like the shotgun thing. I'm like, is he trying to kill them or is he not trying to kill them? Because he swung on the first person. And then it was like, now he's punching people. So I was like, okay, that first swing was just like, oh crap, I can't kill them. So of course he, you know, puts the fire into the sprinkler. Everybody's cured, except for like the big dude who like launches him off the table and stuff. But everything of course works out. He ends up talking with Penguin again at the end of the episode, and Penguin's mad at him naturally because he's the good guy, Penguin's the bad guy. So they go through their moment, and then eventually Jim and Bullock end up having their little drink, and we get to see Falcone come back. So I was very surprised by that. That was definitely the second craziest thing that happened in this episode. And of course that leads me to the third story for this one, with the seemingly inexplicable return of Barbara. And I have no idea what to expect from that. She's got like the new sort of low cut, and she seems oddly calm. It's like she's gone through these weird iterations, like normal person, crazy person who seems calm, crazy person who acts crazy like in the last 2 seasons, and then dead person who's come back to life and she seems eerily calm. Like, that's never really been her character. Like, this is calmer than she's ever been, even when she was like just a normal person. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if this has anything to do with the League of Assassins. That would explain where all the money might have come from. But she comes back and it's like, I don't know what the heck this means. I thought like that chapter was done, but she's coming back. Of course we know that Butch has to come back at some point because he's Solomon Grundy, so now they're both going to be coming back. I don't know what the heck that means, because I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do with Butch. And then this is like, check it out, Barbara's alive too. So who the F knows what that means? So that should be very exciting. But I love what they did with her storyline. Her coming back was a huge surprise. Of course, with whatever's going on in her brain, she wants to work with Selina and Tabitha. Naturally, Tabitha does not want to do that. She finds a pretty quick opportunity with Ivy, which I thought was cool because, of course, Penguin goes in, he finds, you know, the little club that she's got, the armory. And so it's Penguin, Ivy, and Zaz. And Penguin's screwing up with Ivy. He was like, you know, I said you were invited if you would shut your mouth. And as soon as he said that, Barbara kind of looked over like, and there's an open window. And I'll use that later. That's kind of like what she did. She just looked, didn't say anything, and looked right back. And I'm like, that's going to definitely have an effect in the future. And of course, Ivy tried to do that by going to Tabitha and Selina, but naturally that didn't play out too well either. But I'm sure she'll end up joining them somehow. You know, we'll see what happens with her having taken all these toxins. They don't show her turn green. They basically show her face like almost turn to mush. I was like, well, that seemed more akin to like Clayface or something compared to like Poison Ivy. But we will have to see. Hopefully they actually do show it. I would assume with it being this sort of like tease, because it was just like she was just deciding to join, you know, join the ladies instead of Penguin. And then this kind of came in at the last minute where it's like, I just want a bunch of power. And then poof, that was all we got to see. So I have to assume we're going to get the next step of that storyline in next week's episode. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I don't know if they're going to do the full green thing or like maybe the green veins glowing, but I'm excited for whatever they're going to be doing with that because I would assume that means she's going to lead towards more traditional Poison Ivy, her having the power, her officially being able to like control the plants. So I'm definitely looking forward to that because that should be pretty cool. But of course, like I said, Barbara coming back was crazy. Tabitha was naturally mad. Like there was just like that whole thing just made a ton of sense, and I love the way it ended where she's like, I'm going to take your hand. I thought that was a great moment, and of course she's like, alright, for whatever insane reason, Barbara has done something insane and somehow come back to life. I won't actually chop her hand off, and I will trust her for now. I hope that does not lead to Tabitha being killed. I think I mentioned that in the last episode too. I do not want her to die. But I can't wait to see what they do with this. I don't know where the heck it's headed. Whoever this new financier is, I doubt it'll end up being Falcone. That'll be an interesting little twist, but I don't think that's what they'll do. I think that'll kind of stick with Jim's thing. It'll be Falcone and Jim. And then whoever this mystery person is, maybe the League of Assassins, but I just don't know. I mean, it's a League of Assassins. They could have a million multi-layered plans. You never really know. But there's a lot to look forward to. I think I like this episode better than the last one just because of the crazy surprise of a character coming back to life that I thought for sure was that. I was like, if Butch came back, I'd be like, oh, didn't think it would be this early. But of course, we knew that would happen. Barbara coming back was just like, I don't even know where that comes from. And then that adds a new character with whoever gave her all that money. And then also the surprise at the end with Ivy, I guess going like full Ivy, potentially. So, a lot of decent surprises. I like the story that continued from the last episode in general. I thought that was well done for the Scarecrow stuff, as well as naturally, you know, Bruce just doing his thing throughout the season, I guess. But all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts were. I think there's only one question. I have to know your theories. Like, what do you guys think about Barbara making a return? How is she alive? Who brought her back to life? Who is funding her? I think there are like a million different theories. I would assume, you know, it would make a lot of sense if it was the League of Assassins. They could easily just say, we have some multi-layered plan, like I said. But I would imagine this has something to do with a new character that we just haven't seen yet. It might be, you know, maybe a lesser-known Batman character, or it could be a well-known. I don't really know. But I just feel like it has to do with some other Batman character. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. Even if it's someone we have already seen, it'll still be cool just to be like, how does this connection ultimately work? How does it go from Barbara's dead to someone gave her a bunch of money? No matter who they decide to make that character that's kind of funding her, it's going to be interesting to find out the truth. So I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, I would love to know your theories. Right now, I don't think it's the League of Assassins, but that kind of just leaves it open for literally any other character. So I don't have any like decent theory at this point. But I would love to know yours if you guys have any. And of course, just what you guys think about her return. Are you happy about it? Not happy? I gotta be honest, normally I would kind of hate where it's like, oh, a character just died and then poof, they're back. I don't mind it because they do some great stuff. Ever since, I think, season 2, when they officially made her crazy, she's been a great character ever since. So I'm like, even if this is a new crazy version of her, I'm excited to see what they do with it. So I don't mind that she's come back. Plus, knowing that Butch is going to come back, it just adds that whole dynamic that I never thought was going to be possible. So I'm actually insanely happy that she's still alive and that somebody brought it back. Once again, her coming back to life also kind of leads to League of Assassins just a little bit with whatever the pool is called. I always forget the name of it, but the water that they use to heal people, like Bruce did in the finale for Alfred. But we'll have to see what happens. Like I said, we'd love to know your theories, just what you guys are thinking after seeing her return, and of course, want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.